Yeah, so something really, really exciting to me and all of my fellow alien and UFO enthusiasts out there. Uh, if you don't know, if you've never heard me say before, I'm a big believer in aliens. Actually, an old ex-girlfriend of mine. Really kind of opened my eyes years and years ago. I just never really put that much thought into it. But anyway, and if she's listening, I hope she's doing well. She's awesome. But recently, big news, along with the fact that we're still in, and if you don't know, um, in the stimulus package that Trump passed, right before his getting out of office, where we got our big $600 checks. Well, one of the things in that was the activation or the start, I guess, of a 180-day period of time where the U.S. government is going to start releasing more and more information. And what they've done now, or on UFOs, and what they've done now is they've released, which I'm on the Smithsonian website right now. You can now explore the CIA's entire collection of UFO documents online. Now, from what I've seen so far, there's obviously thousands and thousands of pages. Unfortunately, what a lot of people have been saying is a lot of it is difficult to read, almost like, I mean, obviously this stuff's very old. I mean, this is decades and decades of information. Um, but it's almost like, someone oops spilled their coffee on the sheet of paper. It's like, yeah, let's throw that online to kind of, get the people occupied a little bit. But no, I think it's extremely interesting. I mean, I'm looking at here, thousands of pages of declassified records are available for anyone to explore and research. And I mean, I'm scrolling through now, and it's really cool. I mean, some things obviously are blacked out, throughout the document, just because I'm sure national security, privacy, if it's, just whatever the occasion may be. But that to me is extremely exciting. That is, I mean, it just feels like we're getting one. It's a very slow process, but we're getting one step closer. This is a big step. A huge step was the video footage of Commander David Fravor, right, where the he has what's infamously, geez, now brown cow, infamously known, geez, I can't speak today, as the Tic Tac video, right? I'm sure most common folk, have seen it.
Yeah, we played it on here.
Yeah, the majority of people have seen it. Yeah, we've played it on here as well. So yeah, that was a huge step because that originally had leaked, and then the government denied, and then they took a step back and was like, you know what, actually we're going to declassify this. It's real. This is real video footage and evidence of some sort of unidentified phenomenon, right? But that was huge. Obviously that sparked a lot of interest. And David Fravor obviously went on Rogan. He's been on so many podcasts and huge platforms to speak about it. And also something that's really cool to me, because I've always been a believer in Bob Lazar. If you don't know who Bob Lazar is, you owe it to yourself to go and look up his background and what he said. And I mean, for decades people have been calling this guy a maniac, and he's lost his marbles. And when things like this continue to be released, it's like, yeah, guys, he was telling the truth the whole time. And now what's cool is go back and listen to what he's actually said that he's seen with his own two eyes. That's crazy, because as we get closer and closer to finding out the 100% truth and final answer, everything that he has said, that he has seen, it's validated, right? It's slowly becoming validated. So anyway, that's just something exciting to me, because it's like, as these small points start to become obvious and truthful, and he begins to be, continue to be validated. Now it's like, okay, if the government's saying that he was right about A, B, and C, let's go see what he said about D, E, F, G. Like, let's go see what this guy really said. That's cool. I mean, with his own two eyes, he's seen these, these vehicles, not of this earth. So anyway, just a little bit of a nerd moment for me there. It's really, really exciting. I cannot wait to dive into these documents and just see what's out there.
So a little backstory, y'all. Juan and I are planning to do like a big alien, like bonanza blowout episode. So for the past couple of weeks, we've been just kind of consistently bringing in some information to ourselves. So like we watched this show it's a movie, Close Encounters of the Fifth Kind. Have you seen that?
I have not, no.
Yeah, it was interesting. Dr. Stephen Greer, I think is the guy's name. He used to work at SETI Project, I want to say. I could be way off on that. So they use a lot of footage from recent sightings across the world, and basically they're trying to say that like it was hard. The people are such quacks on this thing, dude. It was hard. Like even for me, for somebody who's a fan of the genre, like
that, yeah,
they would meditate. They would get together in large groups and meditate. And they claim that everyone's intention combined in this meditative state and trying to focus your awareness externally, that they could connect with aliens, like life forms from other places, interdimensional beings.
See, that's already a little bit too far for me. That's where I start to disconnect a little bit. Like I'm there, but I'm not there. Like I'm not.
Well, I mean, I don't want to. I'm not. I don't want to get into a science wormhole there, but it was a little bit much for me. And at the end, like the last 5 minutes are basically is a 2-hour thing. They made this app that has these protocols for doing it properly so that you can make contact. So basically selling an app at the end of this thing, and it's like one giant advertisement, but it's very well produced. And like Jeremy Piven or however you say his name is the narrator. So like his voice is on it throughout the whole thing. And
Ari Gold.
it was pretty bizarre. There were pieces of it that were pretty interesting on a scientific level, because the guy clearly has some scientific knowledge, but he's pretty out there at the same time, man. So give that a look if you've got a couple minutes to spare one of these days and you're bored. We also watched Aliens and the Founding Fathers, season 3, episode 11 of Ancient Aliens.
Okay.
It was, I never realized how much stuff in Washington is like out of place, or like just doesn't, like there's like Sphinx statues, and like the Washington Monument is an obelisk, and there's all this like Greek and Egyptian and Rome, like ancient style architecture in Washington, D.C. I don't know. I guess I just didn't really pay attention enough to see all those things, but it was weird. Like obviously the Freemasons were very predominant in the Founding Fathers, and they had a lot of sway in the initial building of our country. There's a lot of weird, goofy iconography and things that just kind of seem out of place that are interesting to think about. Kind of why did they put a pyramid with the all-seeing eye on the back of our money? Like, why is that there? Like,
why is that there? Yeah, seriously.
Why does the Capitol building have an Indian girl or a Native American girl transforming into an eagle as its main thing? Like what's going on there? And then like the Capitol Rotunda, there's a painting of George Washington where he's like ascending into heaven, and it looks like he's like a god. And there's like a statue of him that kind of like, it's George Washington, kind of looks like Zeus. and on the sides there's like these carvings of Apollo, like these chariots of Apollo, kind of like taking his. It's
You know
ancient
what?
aliens, so I mean, it is what
I
it
was-
is. But it's interesting. It's cool. It's like historical. Like I didn't know all that stuff about Washington D.C. It was cool. If nothing else, it was cool just to see some of the architecture that I had never. I mean, we went to D.C. when I was like 4 years old. I don't remember anything about it.
Yeah, yeah. You know that's and see, this is why I love Ancient Aliens, because it's like, you may not pay attention to that, the average person, and I mean that's cool for even for me to hear. I wouldn't have thought of that, but you know who does? Ancient astronaut theories. I love it when they say that. I love
According
it
to
when
ancient
they say
astronaut theorists, George Washington was visited by an alien at Valley Forge,
yeah, right.
and they gave him a
Wow.
vision of what the United States would look like. And he saw a map, and raindrops were coming down on where all the cities were. But this
Oh
is in
my
like
gosh.
they pulled this info from like a newspaper from the 1800s, and one of his like old assistants wrote this story about George Washington seeing a UFO or having these encounters with these greenskins is what he called them. And then
Huh.
there are historical references to it, so it's like, was he just confused by some of the natives that were really face painted up and decked out and stuff, or was he, I don't know.
Yeah, yeah. What was old George Washington smoking at that time,
Yeah,
or was he
right.
actually kicking it with the aliens? Yeah, no, I totally agree. Something that's been very interesting to me, and I obviously been watching it a lot more lately, is UFO hunters, and I've just been finding the episodes on YouTube. But I think I told you the other days I found an episode where um they had video footage of these UFO sightings. And this team of UFO hunters, obviously they go and they interview as many people as possible. What was interesting about this particular episode is, and a few of them, you've got people in all these different counties. For instance, like one was in Michigan, and Rothbury, Michigan, which, fun fact, is where Electric Forest is held. But Rothbury, Michigan, the same people who saw, for instance, like three blue lights, and it was some oblong object or whatever. The same people who saw that and called, and these are all 911 calls. Okay, people are seeing this and they are freaking out, and they're like, I don't know what, call 911, right? So the people in Rothbury, Michigan, okay, which is very close to like Lakeside, they are calling in 911, and they're describing what they're seeing. Now, 20 minutes later, people in Holland, Michigan, okay, which is east, I believe it's east, yeah, like a little bit northeast of that, okay, it's below Grand Rapids, I believe. They're calling in saying the exact same thing. I mean, almost like verbatim. And these are these 911 calls. And then in different episodes, you're actually seeing where people, I mean, this is like, 2000s, right? So, I mean, people are pulling out, their video camera or their phone, or whatever it may be. And they've got actual video footage. Then what goes even further, which is more crazy, is there was a small airport where their tower was picking up the signal, but then and this was the one in Michigan. Their tower was picking up the signal more like a private jet airport, like a private small airport. But then Chicago was not, and then they were having sightings in Chicago as well. And it's just it was nuts. There was also one where it was close to this area, the Cincinnati area, and it was all throughout Ohio, where this one was the one that was nuts, is because these people, again, in different counties in the same night throughout the state, different counties, these people are hundreds of miles away from each other. Okay, they're describing a vehicle or ship, whatever, an unidentified aircraft, right? That is the size of a football field. And they have, these rows of lights underneath. They said you could barely hear any noise at all. The only noise you were really hearing is the trees moving. Okay. Like they're so descriptive. And then again, same thing. People in this say people in Cincinnati. Well, then all of a sudden, an hour later, people in Akron. Then all of a sudden, 30 minutes later, people in Columbus. All in the same night, calling 911. You can listen to the calls, and they're describing the same exact things. Then they have police officers coming in, and they're giving their firsthand account, and they're saying, you know, like one of them, it was comical because he was in more of a rural part of Ohio, and he was like, I can tell you what, whenever I first got that call, I was like, ain't no way, I don't see nothing in the sky. And sure enough, as soon as I hooked a right, went down the road a couple miles, and I was in the farmland, and I looked up, I said, holy hell, there's those blue lights as people are calling in about. And I'm like, oh my
Aliens.
God. Aliens, yeah. But anyway,
Dude, so hearing you talk
I'm
about
really
that,
into it.
I think you might like Close Encounters now that you say that, because there's a lot of footage, recent, like within the
Mhm.
past 10 years footage, because they do these big, well, some of them aren't from their meditation things, but some, like, they'll sit there and record the whole thing, like the sky everywhere. And some of the, I don't know, some of the things that happen are pretty cool. Like, it seems like mostly like light tricks, but like some interesting things that pop
Hmm.
up. And like some of the first person footage of people filming stuff in the sky, like even during the daytime. There's this one guy in California somewhere that's got a couple of them. There's some pretty interesting videos of real footage, so might be worth checking
Yeah.
out if you got some time.
Definitely. And this just this just came to me that whenever you said that, that reminded me a friend of mine that I worked Coachella with. So he was at, and honestly, whenever we get like to our deep dive in this alien episode, he's one that I would love to bring on. Number one, he's hilarious. Okay, this guy is a character. But he was working the event, and it's funny now because I went back not long ago and tried to find video footage. You can't find it. And a lot of the articles that I once was able to go to and reference, they're not up anymore. And
Hmm.
that I found to be very odd. But anyway, I can't remember if it was if it was Dodger Stadium, or anyway, it was some big venue on the West Coast, that he was working, this event. And for some reason, I want to say it was the Adult Swim festival. I don't know if it was a movie or music festival, whatever it was. But then part of me wants to say it was a Dodgers game. Either way, there was this crazy UFO. Like, this is a crazy, like, orb looking thing that was just piercing through through the night sky. And he has a video of it on his phone. And when we were working Coachella, he let me see it. And I don't like, I'm a really good reader of people, and I can tell you that this guy, like, he was like, yeah, man, like, I'll show you the video, homie, but like, I don't want to watch it. I'm like, what? And like, yeah, I could tell, like, it really irked him. Like, it was something obviously had never experienced before, but like, he was a big believer as well. He was it's so funny. He's a guy for like South Central. He's like, I'm gonna tell you what, Holmes, like, look at UFOs, Holmes. He was like, you can take my photo, watch it over there, man. I'm cracking up. So it's just funny to hear him, in his voice say it. But really, really odd. I mean, thousands and tens of thousands of people saw this and were taking, and I mean, there was a crazy. So it was. I think Elon Musk had come out and said that they were testing some Space Force something, and then like the U.S. government came out and said, oh no, it was this. So it was weird. Something was going on there. And again, the fact that you can't really find video footage of it, it's interesting. So maybe I'll message him and have him send me the video so we can share it. But it is crazy. I mean, the colors, how big it was, how close it was. Okay. I mean, this thing was ridiculously close to this massive event. And everyone, he said, I mean, everyone working it, everyone attending was just looking straight up like, He said people were freaking out. People started to cry. He said people were running around, starting to panic. A bunch of people left the event, got in their cars, went home. Like there was people were going wild over this, and rightfully so. So anyway, that's just
There it is, folks. If
yeah.
you're out there listening and you have an encounter you would like to share, let us know and we will have you on for the special so you can share with
Yes.
everyone.
Yes. Absolutely.